All right. Aloha, everyone. Welcome. I have been working with this breathing exercise recently, and it feels so good, and it's really helping wake up a lot, not just in my breathing, but also in the position of my core, and I'm feeling more supported than ever. So I wanted to share this special tool with all of you. You can go full screen because they probably need to be able to see me a little better. Grab your strap. We're not going to stay seated very long, but I just want you to see it upright first. So be comfortable, but you probably don't need all the meditation accoutrement. So you'll take your strap and you'll wrap it around the lowest part of your rib cage because we want there to be contact with the diaphragm, the primary muscle of breathing that attaches to the bottom of the rib cage. In the front, you'll cross your strap and hold it with opposite hands, and make sure you've got enough extra space on both sides that as the shoulders open, your hands can slide wider. And then take a moment to, it's kind of tricky while you're holding the strap, but allow the shoulders to open. And so it's almost like this swinging action, and as the forearm swings open, the humerus externally rotates, and you can kind of feel the shoulder anchoring into the shoulder socket. Can you guys feel that opening? Awesome. So then try that with the strap. And you don't want to be gripping too hard. You want it to definitely feel gentle, but this relaxes the muscles in the chest. So as you breathe, you have to use the diaphragm. You can't use these accessory muscles. So feel free to close the eyes if it helps you feel where the strap is wrapping around your body. And then ever so gently start to breathe, especially down into where the strap means the back of the body. Usually we're pretty good at breathing into the front of the chest, so we want to bring a lot of extra awareness into this back space. And you don't need to be forceful in any way, but just see what happens in the rib cage with this little pressure. Maybe you can even feel a widening happening across the rib cage. If it feels good, you can always tighten the strap a little bit. That's going to provide resistance so that the diaphragm has to work a little harder, but always being kind with yourself. And we'll take a few more breaths upright, and I invite you to drop into the sensation of the breath. Don't worry if you're doing it right or anything like that, but just try to feel what's happening and enjoy the increased awareness. There's not a lot of nerve endings in the diaphragm, so it's actually really hard to feel. That's probably a good thing because we breathe thousands of times a day, and that could get kind of annoying. But right now we really want to have more awareness of this very important muscle that is often forgotten. And over the next couple of breaths, notice what's happening in the rest of the rib cage. So as the base of the rib cage expands, see if you can feel a gentle expansion rolling up the back space of the rib cage, one rib at a time. You might notice that the relationship between the pelvis and the rib cage needs to change a little, or maybe even the neck lengthens, and just allow whatever feels balanced to occur. And then we'll be doing the same thing on the back. So if you want to keep the strap as it is with one hand, move any props out of the way, turn to your right, yes, that works great. You can turn to your left so that you're facing me. And slowly make your way onto your back. I like to bend my knees here, soles of the feet wide, knees knocked in, but you can do whatever feels best for you. And then set up the tails of the strap, crossing the body as they were, but don't grab on just yet. This time, bring your fingertips to the hips. Let your pelvis rock forward a little bit, let it rock back a little bit. And start to find the place where the rib cage and the pelvis mirror one another. So the pelvis isn't arching forward or dropping back. You can start to feel the rib cage and the pelvis connecting. There's a little bit more core support wakes up. For me, it's a gently rocking back of my pelvis. And when you find that place, what feels best for now, use your next exhale to make a shushing sound. Shh. And feel that condensing in the core right underneath the fingertips. Do this a couple of times. Shh. And it might be cutting off that noise because it's weird for Zoom to pick up a noise like that. So it is a continuous exhale shush in case it truncates my end. Shh. The next time you shush, try to hold that positioning as you grab the strap and start to inhale into the strap as you did before, but now with this slight restriction. And it doesn't need to be intense, but we just want the core to be on here. This increases something called inter-abdominal pressure. And so you might feel that condensing happening as the diaphragm expands, the core cylinder is pressurized. Just take a few breaths to expand that back space. Throughout class, I'm just going to say expand the back space, and this is what I'm talking about, this breathing as if the strap were here. And then let's play a little bit. On an exhale, start to unweight one foot and then set it down. Next exhale, unweight the other foot. And this action is going to make it harder to keep pelvis and rib cage level. And so notice that tendency and try to feel the work required to maintain that core integrity while still breathing into the strap. And if that's going well, you can always lift one leg to 45 degrees or a little higher than the other. And slower is stronger here. Trying to feel every single degree, not just the end points. Great control property. And if that's feeling easy and you want a little bit more, you can lift one leg and then the other. That's putting twice as much weight on your core, so it is significantly harder. And then from there you can actually lower one leg and then the other. And this should feel challenging. Everyone's moving really nice and slow, so I feel like you're getting it. You're using that control. Great job. And then let's set both feet back down. Release the strap. Open the arms. Start to reach them down towards the heels. It's okay if the strap's slightly in the way. Let's just slowly lift the hips, peeling one vertebra at a time away from the mat for a nice counter pose. And then set the spine back down and do that a couple of times. Just massaging through the vertebra. It doesn't matter how high you lift. But just notice if you have extra awareness of the back of the rib cage. See if you can keep breathing in that expansive way where there's slight tone in the core that allows the rib cage to open more. We can get really stiff in the space between the ribs. The next time you're lifted, you can slide the strap out of the way just because it's a little more convenient to do it at that time. And we're not going to use the strap for a little while, so keep it close but move it out of the way. I'll try to move mine out of the shot for Marcella. And then release the spine back down. Hug the knees into the chest. Let your abdomen get a gentle squeeze with the thighs, and then slowly exhale and try to lift the belly into the thighs and keep the neck and shoulders as soft as you can when you do this. Point the toes, inhale, back down, and do this a couple of times, exhaling up, trying to feel the work coming from the center of the body. Maybe don't lift as high as you're used to, and just see if you can feel more support coming from your center. And the next time you release, soles of feet can come to the floor, float the hands, roll towards me, stacking hands, stacking legs. We're going to do some open books here. So imagine opening the cover of a book, arm and leg lift slowly. As they lift, they're going to peel you open. Let your body go with that momentum, rolling onto the back, and then slowly away from me, closing the book. And do a few of these on your own, massaging across that back space. See if you can find just a little bit of that core work. So the low back is not arching, but you can really almost like seal the whole back to the floor as you roll through center, which takes, for me at least, quite a bit of strength. And the next time you roll towards me, push into the top hand and let yourself come up to a side saddle seat, kind of like Bharadvajasana. Adjust the legs so that you feel comfortable here. Any angle with the knees is fine. You just don't want any pressure in the knees. And before we go anywhere, tilt your pelvis forward and back, trying to find level. Exhale, float the arms to the horizon and breathe into that back space. Imagine that strap is still there, and just try to expand gently into that space. And when I do that, I almost feel like my arms want to go wider too. Nice. And then, because everyone's facing the same way except you. So right knee to thigh. Let yourself start to side bend, but lean forward just a little bit so that you don't forget about expanding through the back space. And then lower the hand, paw down, and we'll roll over to the other side. I know you'll be facing away from me, but we're doing the exact same thing so you can trust the experience and see if you can even enjoy it a little bit more without the reliance on visual cues, and just feeling in your body, taking a moment to level the pelvis, and then exhaling to hover the hands. And then adding on that side bend, breathing space, almost like a wave up from the bottom rib all the way up to the occipital ridge at the base of the skull. And then paw down. And if the rolling is hard for you, you can just do some open books like we did before. Or if you like rolling all the way up, you can go right into the side bend. So a couple of options there, and open books are wonderful. So if you're choosing that option, don't feel like you're missing out. You're just getting some awesome core integration and back massage. So each one is best. We'll do one more to each side. Try to move a little smoother. Nice. And the next time you roll away from me, we should be balanced. Start to paw your hands back onto the mat so you're kind of in a twist, and then drag your knees underneath you so you're in a tabletop position. And feel free to turn and face me for people in the room here. Paw out the hands a little bit. Imagine jumping with the arms. Bend the elbows and push off the fingertips, taking some jumps, letting the arms get springy. Make sure you feel supported in your shoulders. This shouldn't be strainy at all. Try to keep pelvis and spine neutral. Awesome. And then let's let our hops get smaller and smaller until we can land in a supported tabletop position. So you can take a few tries. Nice. Mom, your spine looks very neutral and strong. Everyone, take a moment just to notice the sensation of your pelvis and spine here. I find sometimes finding neutral is challenging, and just notice if you feel neutral after the core work that we've done. And we'll test it a little bit, rocking the pelvis forward so the low back arches, rocking the pelvis back so the low back rounds. And then let those movements get smaller and smaller until you find that space that we discovered while we were on our back, where the rib cage and the pelvis are mirroring one another, and there's that closing or drawing in feeling through the front of the body, supporting the spine. And when you find that, pause and use an exhale to just take the weight out of one hand. And you'll know you're doing it right if you feel everything fire up in your core to support you. And then you can inhale, set that hand down, exhale, take the weight out of the other hand. And then keeping the feet flat, exhale, take the weight out of the knees, and inhale, set the knees down. And do a couple of those and try to use the strength that's awakened when you unweight the knees to lengthen the spine while keeping it neutral. The next time the knees lift, roll over the toes and bend the knees really deeply. Press into the pinky side of the hand to lift the hips up and back. Nice long neutral spine. Bend the knees even deeper. See if you can reach the sits bones up towards the space where the back wall meets the ceiling, spreading the sits bones wide. And then gently lengthen just one leg out at a time. And then bend both knees, lengthen the other leg out at a time. And take this slow motion walking of the dog just to give your calves a little love. If you need to set the knees down at any time, feel free to do that. The more you can push into the hands and send the hips back, the more support you'll get from the legs so that the shoulders don't feel like they have to do everything. Sadim, can you put the clock up on the screen? Start to sway the hips so far to the right that you can drag the left hand in underneath you, and then sway the hips to the left, dragging the other hand, and make this slow, dramatic walk to Uttanasana. Really deep bend in the knees. Don't want to feel any strain through the back line here, so nice and loose through the low back, through the hamstrings. If this doesn't feel good, feel free to just come right up. We're coming into standing in a moment. If it does feel good, rock weight in the feet to the balls of the feet and then back to the heels. And as the weight rocks back into the heels, notice what wakes up in your calves, in your hamstrings, all the way up the erectors. Try to breathe into that back space, articulating ever so gently through each rib, each vertebra. And the next time you rock back, make sure the big toes are anchored for stability. Drop the sits bones a couple of inches just to wake up the hips, and then gently send the hips forward to level the pelvis and let one vertebra stack at a time, feeling as much support as possible on the front of the spine as you roll up. And then turn to face me, grab your strap. You can wear your strap like a little scarf. And let's just take some really gentle bounces so the heels are just lifting and lowering. Feet can be wherever is most comfortable for knees and hips. And imagine you're able to like vibrate your whole body, that these pulses are so quick that they send ripples through the whole body that you can feel all the way up to the crown of the head. If you feel like you want more here, your feet can leave the ground. I just personally am not feeling that right now. And then allow the heels to land. Close the eyes and feel yourself land in your footprints. And just notice the awareness of your body as a whole. Feel like when we wake up the breath and we wake up these core connections, becomes easier to observe your entire body all at once, standing here perfectly balanced in space. Grab your strap, release your arms down, let the hands be generously wider than the hips, and gently pull the hands away from one another so you feel the muscles on the outside of the arm up into the triceps and the back of the shoulders engage. gently lift the arms just to the horizon and try to keep that pulling happening so you can actually get more awareness of what's happening in the back just by virtue of waking up those muscles. Maybe you can even breathe into that back space that we've been waking up. And then set the strap down and do a few of these on your own, incrementally letting the arms go higher, but in a really gentle way. And the whole goal here is once the arms make it overhead, you feel like all the outside muscles are working, but the shoulders and neck are really soft. I'm finding that I'm sliding my hands further away from one another, and that feels really good. So you might want to try that. And the next time the arms make it overhead, pause there, push into the outer edge of the left foot, and slowly lengthen the whole left side of the body nice and even so you can feel it from the foot all the way up to the neck. And then inhale through center, exhale the other way. And do a few of these on your own. Try to move slower and smoother as the body learns the path. And the next time you're side bending up and over to the left, you can ever so gently rotate the heart open. Make sure this doesn't put any pressure in the low back. The whole body can rotate. Rotate the heart closed, and just do a couple of these gentle shearing actions to get some openness, especially on the outside of the hip is where I feel it, but it might be different for you. And then square up, come back to center, side bend the other way, and add a couple of those little shears. And then square up and come back to center. Release the strap to the neck. Interlace the hands at the low back. Drag the knuckles down, letting the chest open. And slowly bend the knees, bounce a couple of times, and tip the pelvis forward. Not going very far, just lengthening through the back of the body in a gentle way. And then slowly, heavy sit bones help you come up. There can be a slight roll or flat spine, whatever feels good. And then interlace the hands in the front of the body, press the palms away, and slowly reach the arms forward and up, letting the whole front of the body open. And then release the arms and let them go wide. And notice how weightless the shoulders can be. Let them be really soft, and maybe you can even feel the shoulder girdle just landing evenly upon the rib cage, the breath supporting. And melt the arms all the way down. Grab your strap again. We'll shift the weight into the right foot this time. Bend the right knee, weight in the right heel. Glide the left foot behind you. Bend the left knee a little bit. Take a gentle side bend. And then come back through center and shift the other way. And do a few of these on your own using as little energy as possible, trying to move as fluidly as possible. And you can continue in this way, or you can add a little hop as you switch sides. And that's when the being gentle really comes in handy. It's almost like you want to conserve your energy and then melt. Right? Think of these movements as a way to melt the body into a shape rather than pulling or forcing. Nice. Last one. And then step the feet nice and wide. Relax the strap to the neck. Interlace hands behind you. Drag the knuckles down, letting the front of the body open. Soft knees. Hinge forward at the hips, letting the whole back of the body open. Knuckles can reach back and slightly up, but I don't recommend dropping them overhead. And then rock the weight forward and back. Roll up through the spine. Release the hands. Interlace them forward. Press them forward and lift them overhead. You can add just a little side bend at the top. And then come back to center, release the hands, and pause with those soft shoulders, just letting the arms Be as weightless as possible and see if you can let that lightness emanate through your whole body. Take a breath into the heart. And then relax the arms down. Grab your straps, step the feet together. I'm just deciding whether I want to step forward or back. Let's step forward. That's my favorite right now. So I'm going to scooch back a little bit just so that both my feet are in the shot. It's okay if both feet aren't on the yoga mat. In fact, that will just make you stronger and improve your balance. So let's start to step forward with the left foot and rotate slightly to the left and then bounce back. Do this a couple of times. If you want, as you bounce back, the foot can come behind you and you can twist the other way, but you don't have to do both sides. And the next time the left foot steps forward, pause there and look at the back foot. It should be perfectly aligned where the toes are mostly forward, slightly out to the right for a nice short Virabhadrasana 1 stance. Grab your strap, place it under the ball of the foot. Yeah, we did it in our wisdom training. Gently pull on the strap and see if you can use that to wake up the arms and wake up the shoulders and wake up the back of the body. We're going to be hinging forward in a moment, and I want it for you to be an experience of lengthening the back of the body as you feel this sense of strength and integration. So give the strap just a little pull and see if that can help you lengthen upward. Again, rib cage and pelvis are mirroring each other. So we don't want this to happen, right? We want nice long spine where each vertebra has a lot of space between it and the next. And then gently soften the front knee, let the pelvis start to tip forward. Walk the hands down the strap just an inch or two, and then same thing, gently pull on the strap. Try to push evenly into both feet so you have awareness on both sides of the hip, up the erector spinae, up the back of the body. Breathe into that back space that we woke up. And then you can stay right here, or if you want to keep going, you can. Just make sure your choices help you feel integrated, help you feel connected and strong. Think of this more as an exploration of that back space in an interesting new position than anything else. And then let's press into the ball of the front foot. Let the strap slide through the hands so you can slowly come up. Release the strap, grabbing it in that nice wide fashion that we did before. Bend into the front knee, and hopefully that feels really nice. And add a little side bend. I love side bending to the left in this position. You're welcome to try going both ways and see what's the most useful. This can be exploratory for you. I just really want to hold this position and open through that right hip. And take one more breath to explore. And come to center, wear your strap, interlace your hands behind your back, let the chest open, and then soften the knees. Let yourself melt forward with as little resistance as possible. So not that same strong experience with the strap, just letting your body drape. And then press into the feet, roll up, interlace the hands in front of you, pushing forward, opening, bending the front knee. And then you can take a couple of those at your own pace, just as gentle as possible, almost as if you're just trying to move energy through your body. And the next time you come up, step the front foot nice and wide. Reach out for a moment, toes forward, anchor through the outer edge of the foot, and then bend the knees, or actually just bend the right knee. Give that left leg a little break. Start to twist to the right, so you're twisting towards the bent knee, and just notice any sense of opening through the inside of the extended leg. Interlace the hands onto that thigh and gently rock the weight forward into the ball of the foot and then back into the heel to give the adductors a little massage. And then press into the right leg, straightening it, floating back to center, and then heel toe the feet underneath you. And pause for a moment. We did a lot of work on that left side. And so as you come into a neutral Tadasana, just notice any sensations of opening or support or warmth flowing, happening really anywhere in the body. And then we'll start to play with the second side. So step the right foot forward, little twist to the right, bounce back. And then option as you bounce back to let the right foot come behind you, and you can twist a little to the left. Just staying springy and supple. And the coolest part about this bouncing is you can't do it if the body's not integrated. So it means you can only go as far as the core is able to support. So it's an awesome trick for finding an ideal stance. Next time you step forward with the right foot, pause there. Strap around the ball of the foot. Anchor evenly through the inside and outside of the ball of the foot. And that's cool because with the strap, you can kind of pull on the inside and the outside and make sure that the foot is resisting that pull and almost spreading out across the toes and the transverse arch. Little bend in the knee, and let the knee point towards the fourth toe next to the pinky. That's going to stimulate some strength on the outside of the hip. Press evenly into both feet and then gently tug on the strap so that you can wake up that outside space of the arms that we've been playing with. So pinky side up into the triceps and then behind the scapula all the way down to the low back. Breathe into that back space, long neck. And then as you feel ready, soft bend in the knee if I didn't cue that already, and little tip forward with the pelvis. Walk the hands down so that you can keep the arms straight and you can keep that action of just gently hugging in. It's okay to have a little bend in the elbow, but just try to feel the arms rooting in to the shoulder socket. And then repeat that process, making sure you're breathing, and use this to get really curious about the back space of the body. In our upper level wisdom training, we talked about the different sensory receptors that wake up through different movements. And whenever we do that course, I'm like, okay, I got to hold poses longer. So this is for our Golgi receptors. And notice if this is a sensation that you love or if it's a newer sensation or a sensation that you avoid. See if you can be here in a way that is pleasant and steady, yet strong. The breath helps. And let's press into the ball of the foot, slowly rising up. Take the strap with you. Hands nice and wide. Bend into the front knee. And then you've got your exploration where I just want to hang out here. I saw some really cool circling actions. You can even fold forward a little bit. The sky's the limit as long as it feels good and it's honoring your body. And then we'll press back up, wear the strap, opposite interlace of the fingers behind you. So it's whatever you don't just naturally do. And then heavy knuckles, let the front of the body open, soften both knees, and imagine yourself just gently melting, softly releasing forward with no tension. And then rolling back up, opposite interlace of the hands in front of you, push the palms away, bend the knee. And then do a couple of these on your own with as little effort as possible, as if you don't even have a physical form. You're just energy flowing through space. The next time you're up, bounce the right foot back and wide into a wide straddle. Bend into the left knee. Take a rotation to the left and then interlace the fingers onto the thigh, rocking forward and back on the foot and noticing how that relates to the inside of the right leg or wherever you feel it. try pushing evenly into both feet so that the adductors and the pelvic floor are working together instead of maybe pulling away from one another. And then slowly press into the left foot, opening wide. All 10 toes forward, bend the knees, melt down through center, nice and soft, no resistance. Hand can come to the thighs, the legs, or the floor. Perhaps you enjoy some stillness here, or you can shift, straightening one leg at a time, letting the hips sway. If the hands are touching the floor, it can be fun to walk the hands to one side. And even if you're walking hands to the right, stretch the left fingertips far, getting a nice lengthening through the left side body. And then the other way. And try breathing into that back space and noticing how the more spacious you can be through the back of the rib cage, the more naturally the front of the body condenses on the exhale, getting that nice tone, that nice relationship between the rib cage and the pelvis. We'll come back to center, deep bend in the knees, anchor big toes, rock weight back into the heels, roll up if that feels okay, and pause in a weightless star pose at the top. Just imagining yourself completely empty, able to absorb, able to draw in nourishment. And grab your strap one last time, and we're just going to revisit those little jumping curtsies. This is our last active thing of class, so this can be really gentle for you, being as smooth as possible. Or if you're feeling really integrated and you kind of want to like go for it, you can go for it, but only if that's enjoyable. Maybe both feet stay on the ground and there's more sense of fluidity and ease. Only you know, but have some enjoyment of whatever you choose. And the next time you're side bending over to the right, push into the right foot and take one moment to lift the left foot into tree. We've done a lot of overhead stuff with the arms, so I invite you to relax the strap down. Just bring the hands to the heart and notice any sense of rooting, feeling really solid. See if you can keep your balance as you, I guess you can't see how cute Marcella's dog is here. She's perfectly lined up with Marcella's shin. It's a great photo. Then before we switch sides, because we've done so many side bends, if you do want to challenge your balance here, you can shift your weight, letting that whole right side lengthen. Make sure the right big toe anchors. That's the secret to the balance here. And then we'll step open, cross the leg behind you, and take your little bounce, pushing into the left foot to pulse into your tree. And do whatever feels right with your arms. Maybe this round you give yourself a hug. What kind of tree would this be? It's like a koala on the tree. And try breathing into that back space, getting as much length through the back of the neck, freedom through the base of the skull. And just noticing how that action relates to the front of the body and relates the rib cage to the pelvis. And if you want to try the side bend, you can, but you don't have to. And then we'll step nice and wide, bend the knees, release down through center so you can plant the hands and lower one knee at a time. And then sit back on the heels in a low kneel. Move your strap off to the side, grab your blanket. Open your blanket a little wider than normal. We're going to make a roll here. So you can roll up the blanket and then place it across the mat over to your left hand side. I do find sometimes this roll is a little thick for me, so when we lay down, if you feel like it's uncomfortable, you can unroll it a little bit, and that will work just fine. So maybe assume that you're going to make adjustments so it's not annoying when that happens. And then turn away from the blanket and slowly lower that back space that we worked with on the strap, onto the blanket. And again, if it feels like it's forcing you into a really dramatic arch and it's not comfortable, you can unroll it a little bit. Open your arms to a T, palms face up, just letting the chest open, soles of feet nice and wide, knock the knees in. And then gently press the bottom of the rib cage down into the strap, or down into the blanket rather. Just letting it get a little bit of a massage, and breathe into that contact point, but also breathe above it. And then separate the knees so they're pointed up towards the sky, and gently start to windshield wiper the legs. And notice how the gentle shifting of the legs changes the contact point of the blanket, so you get a massage across that whole bottom space of the rib cage. And you're welcome to stay here as long as you want. You're also welcome to eventually roll onto one side. Bring the bottom arm however is most comfortable. I like mine overhead. And then play with that same thing on the side body, just massaging the side rib with some gentle rocking forward and back. Almost just letting the body melt over the blanket. And when you find a good spot, just stay there as long as you want. There's no need to move on. If you feel ready to move on, you can travel all the way over the back to the other side. And you can stay on that side, or you can even take a few rolls from side to side, getting that bigger movement massage. And again, just try to be aware of the relationship of your pelvis and your rib cage. The blanket is going to want to arch the back. Try to resist that arch so that you're waking up that strong core. This will give you extra massage, but it's also going to help you breathe more into the back of the diaphragm. And then the next time you're on your back, roll or scooch down a little bit so that you can massage another part of the rib cage. And feel free to try this a few times until you find the most useful spot for you. There is no right or wrong, as long as it feels good. And then if one of those movements was more interesting, you can skip right to it or just stay there. The windshield wipers might be my favorite. And now that you know the process, please let yourself enjoy. Please let yourself add or subtract. Could be fun to do a gentle spinal twist here on the roll. Feel free to explore another spot a little higher up. Just try to breathe into the place that is being massaged by the blanket. It's waking up more awareness. Maybe the massage even allows for there to be more space for the breath. And again, resisting the arching. So there's that extra downward pressure that's neutralizing pelvis and spine. And then roll to one side so that you can push up and move your blanket out of the way. Feel free to roll it completely up if it wasn't, and save it for Shavasana underneath the knees. Come back onto the back, and I guess actually you can set your props up for Shavasana. But before we relax completely, I just want you to feel the difference. Now that you're lying on the earth without a prop, the contact, the softness in the rib cage. Maybe you can release a little more deeply. And I want the breath to be natural in Shavasana, but just observe if you're able to breathe through that back space a little more fluidly, a little more fully. And sometimes it feels like you're breathing from the bottom up, or sometimes it feels like the top down. It doesn't really matter. Just try to feel almost like one vertebra at a time in whichever direction feels natural to you. And then set up the arms and legs however is most comfortable for you in Shavasana. Grab any warm layers or things that will help you relax completely. And take your time enjoying this process of taking care of yourself. You deserve it. And when you do eventually land in Shavasana, let this also be a process. Know that you can continually relax more deeply. You can release another layer of tension, breath after breath, minute after minute in Shavasana. So let yourself relax as fully as is possible in this moment. And then try to feel how each breath has the potential to help you let go a little bit more. Maybe you can literally feel the physical body soften into the mat, get a little heavier. Or perhaps you can feel your energetic space expanding. And we'll rest here for the next 10 minutes, trying to allow this natural process to take us to our most relaxed, conscious state. You can gently start to come back into the body by humming. And then again, Zoom is going to cut off that sound if I hum. And just try to feel that gentle vibration in the mouth and the throat, emanating all the way through the whole body, as if just harmonizing each of your cells like a tuning fork. You can take a few hums. And when you feel ready to add some gentle movements, go ahead. Do whatever feels comfortable for you waking up. And enjoy the process of waking up and eventually making your way to seated. Add anything along the way that feels good. Pet your dog. It's the best part of getting to do Zoom yoga. I get to meet everyone's pets, and you get to snuggle with your dogs during Shavasana. And take your time. There's no rush. And see if you can take the relaxed state that you've reached with you. Sometimes relaxed feels like drowsy or tired. And I want to invite you to open up to a little shift of awareness with this relaxed state is just your mind being quiet, your heart being open, your breath being receptive. And this concludes our hour-long class. If you want to stick around for meditation, you're more than welcome to stay for as long as you can. Feel free to grab any cushions or props or move to a chair, whatever helps you feel as supported as possible in meditation. And we've done so much for the physical layer of the body that my hope is you can be comfortable in your seat. And almost like check that box. Like, okay, don't have to think about the body. That's taken care of. And that's okay if that takes time. And I've really been enjoying turning my palms face up, letting my shoulders consciously open. That's something that I need. So feel free to try it, but just make sure it doesn't cause tension. When you feel ready, you can start to focus on the breath. First, this physical layer of the breath that we've been playing with, literally feeling the fullness of your lungs and your rib cage expanding. And try to make that process as simple and natural as possible. Or like pouring clean water from a vase. It just gently fills from the bottom up in this very smooth and measured way. and then empties that same smooth and measured way. And just like we checked that physical box, see if you get to a place where you feel like, okay, my breath can continue in this really gentle way without me having to think about it or do anything. Almost like step back and observe the smooth flowing breath. And when we step back and are able to observe, sometimes the contents of the mind become a little clearer. That thing that has been weighing on you or clouding your vision is now separate and you can see it. And just take several breaths to feel any space you have from your thoughts. You don't have to push the thoughts away. Let's try to keep this sense of spaciousness. And the magic tool when working with the mind is mantra. So we can begin attaching the natural breath mantra hum to each inhale and sa to each exhale. And try to get curious about how the hum feels. That quality of inhaling, that vibration of the mantra. Perhaps noticing an opening, nourishment, spaciousness, or something unique to you right now. Let the focus shift to the exhale, the sa. It's quite a different quality. And now let yourself be in that experience. And just like we've done with each layer previous, see if you can relax and soften around the mantra, knowing that it can continue on its own with less effort. Try to drop into that space of observing and allowing. And you may notice more space around the breath. And let yourself be really curious about that space, especially after the exhale, that empty point. Feeling yourself drop into that stillness. You never want to hold the breath or have any force or gripping, but sometimes it feels natural and effortless to just rest in that space, allowing the inhale to arrive as it needs to. If you ever feel a dullness or lack of inspiration by being empty, know that that space of complete quiet is a direct experience inside at your true nature. And empty of all the things we carry with us in the horizontal realm, but completely full and rich and radiant. And so let yourself reach beyond that veil, feeling into that potential, that possibility. Sometimes it can help to ever so gently and subtly smile. Just letting that lightness radiate from this core space. And starting to tap into the joyfulness that is your true nature. For the last couple of minutes, give yourself permission to relax. Relax the physical body. Relax the breath. Even relax the mantra. And feel how those mechanisms can persist with even less effort, with even more space. And notice any relief you feel, and try to ride that wave. Just feeling more and more relieved at this freedom. More and more trust that you can let go of your grip and still focus. We can conclude by bringing hands to heart center and just feeling that gesture as a bridge between your inner and outer worlds. And breathe into that space, letting them be united. Eventually let the eyes open, trying to feel inside while connecting and observing outwardly. And just let yourself rest in that peaceful state of relief that you've cultivated or tasted. Thank you so much for practicing. Namaste. Great to see you. Have a wonderful rest of your night. Please reach out if you have any questions. Otherwise, I'll get to see many of you soon. Take care. Thanks for coming. Okay.